This is Lisa from MobileTechReview, and it's that time of year. This is the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus. Well, this time around they did something a little different. There are two different Note versions. There's the Note 10 and the Note 10 Plus, two different sizes. I know some of you said that you just don't understand the point of that. Well, the point is not just that the Note 10 is a little bit more affordable, starting at $949, if you could ever call that affordable. You can't really, right? But anyway, and the Note 10 Plus starts at $1,099, call it $1,100. Well, a lot of people like the Note. They're intrigued by it. They thought they might want the S Pen, but the size of this is always what set them running away. So now with the Note 10, you've actually got something that's about the size of the regular Samsung Galaxy S10, which by today's standards is considered a very manageable, not so huge phone, which is cool. But if you go for the Note 10 Plus, you've got a phone that's about the same size as the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 or the Galaxy S10 Plus, but with the biggest screen yet, 6.8 inches. And one thing I have to say about Samsung is it is amazing how they manage to fit truly bigger and bigger screens into devices while making the devices themselves smaller. Also, the display on this, again, you know, Samsung makes the OLED displays for a lot of really good phones, including the iPhone, the OnePlus 7 Pro, all of Samsung's own phones. But just when you think it can't get any better, this one is the most beautiful screen yet that they have made. And DisplayMate says it's indistinguishable from perfect in terms of color accuracy as well. So no more garish colors and all that sort of thing. You can set it to dynamic and to be a little bit zingy, but it's realistic yet beautiful and saturated. We're going to look at it now. By the way, there is also a 5G variant, supposedly for both sizes of Note 10 phones. Right now in the United States, just the Note 10 Plus is available with 5G, and that's on Verizon. I really don't recommend doing 5G at this point. Number one, coverage is really not very good. Being able to take advantage of it, not so much. The bands are not even all settled for coverage, so what you buy this year might not be the ideal for next year, and the plans cost more too. So go with the regular 4G LTE. You'll also get better battery life and less heat as well. The phone is available, as always, on all major carriers, and it's also available as an unlocked phone that does both GSM and CDMA. So, you know, that means Verizon and AT&T, for example. Two kinds of networks are supported on. In fact, I have the unlocked version here. Now, I like unlocked phones for obvious reasons. You can use it on any carrier with any SIM that you want, but some people do prefer the carrier versions to get the carrier version of visual voicemail, although usually that's downloadable, other customizations, and also because for some reason the carrier versions tend to get OS updates a little bit quicker. Now, Samsung's pretty good about your monthly security updates, but for the OS updates, they're not so super fast, and it usually happens on the carrier first. In the box, you get a set of 8kg wired headphones with a USB-C connector, because this is the first flagship Samsung Galaxy phone to give up on the 3.5mm headphone jack. Some of you are just going to walk out of the room right now and close your browser and, well, I hear you. I've been using Bluetooth audio for a while now, so it doesn't affect me that much, but at least you do get those wired buds in the box, and probably we'll see more and more USB-C earbuds and headphones on the market as time progresses, but that is kind of a step backwards for the Note line, which is known as the MacGyver phone that could do it all, but it follows the trends too. You remember when the Note was the last one to have a removable battery, for example. Sooner or later, these things just go. Now, one thing to note, if you're looking at the, no pun intended, if you're looking at the Note versus the Note 10 Plus, the Note 10 Plus has a microSD card slot. The Note 10 does not. I think there just physically wasn't room for it inside there. So if expandable storage is important to you, keep that in mind. For our United States version, we have the Snapdragon 855 processor. You'll get the Samsung Exynos in other countries. Now, it's not the Snapdragon 855 Plus. We see that coming on the ASUS ROG Phone 2 very soon. The performance difference doesn't look like it's going to be that big, so yeah. Gone are the days where the Note was always a bit ahead of the Samsung Galaxy S line. Now they kind of just struggle to keep parity with each other more than anything else. In terms of RAM, you get 8 gigs of RAM with the Note 10. You get 12 gigs of RAM with the Note 10 Plus. That is a lot of RAM, and it helps if you want to use Samsung DeX, which we'll talk about a little bit later. You get 256 gigs of storage with the Note 10, or your choice of 256 or 512 gigs of storage with the Note 10 Plus. The phone looks and feels very premium. Compared to the Note 9, it feels easier to hold. That's one thing Samsung does manage to improve with every generation. Where the Note 9 felt kind of like a handful, yet slippery like you were going to drop it, this one actually got lighter and a little slimmer on the edges. It certainly looks premium. I mean, this phone is sort of like a BMW M car or Mercedes AMG as they go, and it should be for the price. Also, the O-hole camera up front, well, now we just have a single 10-megapixel selfie camera, so there's not a double hole punch like we had for the S10 Plus, and now it's centered and very small. They've gotten a smaller camera lens and sensor up there, so it's much less obtrusive than certainly a notch or even the kind of larger and slightly weirder off-center cameras that Samsung is using for the Galaxy S10 Plus, for example. The available colors will depend on the country and region that you're in. Here in the United States, we get black, we get white, we get blue, which is a Best Buy in the United States exclusive, but you can get it from Samsung via as an unlocked phone. That's what we have, obviously. And there's the new Aura Glow. Well, if you show Aura Glow in video and in photos, it looks like exceptionally colorful. What it really is a pretty monochromatic chrome shiny back, but it reflects everything in the environment. So it picks up all sorts of colors. It looks pretty neat. It gets disgusting with fingerprints almost immediately, though. The Note 10 phones run Android 9.0 Pie. We do not know when they're going to get Android 10. Again, this is Samsung, probably not so super fast. If you're really into that, get a Pixel 4 phone when it comes out for faster OS updates. And it's running Samsung's OneUI, which is certainly still a great improvement over TouchWiz, and the phone is very fast and very fluid. I don't have complaints. And you still have your little side swipeable launcher for your quick launcher for apps, the usual Samsung features that you expect to see, plus a whole lot of S Pen features that we'll talk about. You have stereo speakers, one by the earpiece, one bottom firing. They're AKG branded. They're okay. They're not bad. Obviously, you get a little stereo separation. I still think the iPhone XS Max speakers sound a little bit better. Sorry, folks. So back to the gorgeous display again. If you get the smaller Note, you're going to get a 6.3-inch 2280 by 1080 display. That's 401 ppi. If you go with the 6.8-inch Note 10 Plus, then you got 3040 by 1440 pixels and 498 ppi. So those resolutions basically mirror the S10 and the S10 Plus, just with bigger screens. Peak brightness is 1200 nits. Now that's only going to happen if you're outdoors and you have auto brightness enabled, or if it needs to enable that for HDR effects, make the white super whites in the scene, that sort of thing. But very easy to see outdoors. There is a factory installed plastic screen protector, and it's so well installed, you won't see it. You'll feel it around the edge of the curved glass there a little bit. You can remove it. It's safe. This is not like the Samsung Galaxy Fold where the display will fall apart and die if you take it off. But outside, you'll notice the screen protector a little bit. It adds a little reflectance. Polarized glasses might be an issue with it. You can take it off if you want. But I have to say, other than the fact it's plastic, it's not going to last forever. They did a pretty good job with that. They moved the power button. Wow. I know, it seems like not a big deal, but if you're used to Samsung phones or the Note 9, it might take a little getting used to. They swapped it to the opposite side. So both your power and your volume controls are on the same side now, and there is no Bixby button. Hallelujah. But Samsung did commandeer the power button. Instead of the default, when you press and hold the power button on an Android phone, you get choices of reboot, power it down, maybe take a screenshot. Here, long press brings up Bixby. But thank goodness you can go to settings and you can change that to bring back the original Android functionality if you're not a Bixby fan. Also, if you swipe the home screen, there you're still going to see your Bixby screen. Also, when it comes to Bixby, you can set it to respond to voice commands for Google Assistant or for Bixby. You can roll either way. So if you like Google Assistant better, world's your oyster. So of course the S Pen is here, and it's still Wacom EMR, which is the best kind of digitizer and pen experience that you can have. 4096 pressure levels, it has tilt, and now on the Note 10 Plus, the screen is so darn large, it really is a lot more fun if you want to use it for doodling and drawing and artwork, that sort of thing. Now it also has Bluetooth, and that's for the usual S Pen party tricks, which you may or may not find useful. It has Bluetooth range, so you can do this from like 10 feet away, even if you wanted to. You want to use it in Spotify to flick to the next track with a gesture, you can do that. You get the idea. There's some apps that support this, not all of them, but some people like it. And the usual Air commands are here that make it really easy to do screen captures or a section of a screen, do annotations on those screens. Those things I do find really useful. We also have Samsung's Notes application here, which has always been very capable, and the OCR, or your handwriting recognition, has gotten even better. And I have pretty crappy handwriting. A feature we had before, I love, and is still here too, is if the phone is turned off, whip out the S Pen and you can write a note to self quickly. Very useful, or if somebody else, your coworker or a family member, wants to jot a quick note on your phone while you've left it sitting on the desk for a moment and walked away, they can do that. Dad, buy milk. Whatever. You get the idea. So just like with the S10 family, we have an in-display fingerprint scanner, and it's ultrasonic, which is the more secure kind, but still the more finicky kind. OnePlus 7 Pro has a capacitive one that's a lot quicker. The good news, though, is that they have improved it, and it is quicker and more reliable than on the S10 family, where I really loathe to use it. Here, it's pretty tolerable. You just have to press fairly firmly. There's also facial recognition for even quicker unlocking, and of course the many Google options for location-based unlocking, or if you have a Bluetooth watch or something connected to it, to unlock it as well. The 10-megapixel f2.2 front camera is very capable. It can actually record video up to 4K resolution now. And the rear camera is basically, you're getting the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus camera trio on the back, which, yay, because with the Note 9 I was starting to feel a little left out. I really wanted that wide-angle camera on the Note because I've enjoyed it quite a lot on the S10 Plus. So you have that here, and the camera specs are the same, and you can see them on screen. Now, if you go with the Note 10 Plus versus the Note 10, you get a time-of-flight sensor. Samsung has their own marketing name for it, which is depth vision camera. So what does that do? It helps with the bokeh effects. Now, we already had pretty well-established bokeh effects for still photos, but now they brought it to video. And they have some work to do there. It's a little hit or miss right now. So, you can tap and tell it where it is you want it to have the depth of field effect or not. So the subject of your video, for example, I'm sure they will keep updating it. It'll get better, but meh right now. It's also good for other useful things like measuring objects, augmented reality, and that sort of thing, which is still in its infancy, to be honest, but I suppose it's future looking and it could be fun. And there's some Bixby apps you can download it if you want to play with that sort of thing. While we're talking about the cameras, it really is the S10 Plus all over again, but tweaked and improved with firmware and all that stuff. You know the story. They are very capable cameras. They've also improved the low light shots. It used to be that the Google Pixel, mostly with their computational AI, really just took down the competition. They were the best. And they still are a little bit better. But Samsung has gotten good enough, and this is still one of the best cameras on the market, camera phones, that I don't think anybody's going to feel like they're at a loss. It takes certainly better video than a Pixel 3 or a 3A family phone would, because that's not the strong point of the Pixels. Still, maybe not quite up there with the iPhone XS family, because that's the king of 4K video recording there, but overall, just really good. And it's really fun just for things like video. You can actually switch between the different lenses while you're recording a video. With that time-of-flight sensor trick, by the way, for video, you can also do microphone zoom, which does work pretty well. So you want the microphone to try to follow the speaker who is talking and not the noisy 5 other things that are going on in the environment at the time. We also have autofocus tracking. We have optical image stabilization for the normal lens and the telephoto lens, but not for the wide-angle lens, the usual premium stuff you would expect. You have also, of course, IP68 water resistance. You have wireless charging, and this is wireless charging 2.0, so it's faster charging. It's 15-watt wireless charging. Yay, that. And that's, speaking of the OnePlus 7 Pro, which we're bringing up right now, as another really giant screen phone, 6.67 inches, pretty similar resolution OLED display also. The OnePlus 7 Pro is also a wonderful phone. It has no camera cut out at all, since it has the motorized selfie camera going on, but that's some of the things that you give up with the OnePlus phone. You give up an actual IP68 water resistance rating, even though they say, well, it's kind of water resistant, we just didn't have it tested, and there's no wireless charging on a OnePlus phone. And obviously there's no S Pen. Well, yeah, duh. Speaking of that battery, for the Note 10 you get a 3,500 milliamp battery, which is nice. With the Note 10 Plus you get a 4,300 milliamp battery. Samsung's finally outgrown their fear of exploding batteries with a previous generation Note. And not only do we have really fast charging here, we have higher capacity batteries. Both of these should be all-day phones. I can tell you with the Note 10 Plus, I have found it pretty darn hard to kill this. I'd have to be playing Fortnite for hours on end, really, to manage to kill it in less than a day, which is a good thing. We also have fast charging. You get a 25-watt fast charger in the box. That's right up there with dash charging for the OnePlus. In fact, it's a little bit faster. And often I notice it charged faster than it predicted too, particularly if the screen was off and just sitting on my desk. I had it down to about 40%. And it said it would be about 65 minutes till it was fully charged, and it actually charged in more like 35 minutes because the phone was just sitting there and sleeping on the desk. That's super fast. But if you want it even faster, there's a 45-watt charger option just for the Note 10 Plus. Probably has to do with heat dissipation and the size of the phone and all that sort of thing. So USB-C 45-watt charger is the standard for Ultrabooks these days. And you might find your Ultrabook charger works as long as it supports USB-C power delivery, a late spec standard version of that. For example, Apple's 13-inch MacBook Pro charger works just fine, and Snap, it's even about twice as fast as a 25-watt charger, which is cool beans. But if you want Samsung's own, they're going to charge you about $50 for it. Lastly, how can we not talk about Samsung DeX? DeX has been around for a while now. At first it required a docking kind of connector or USB-C to HDMI. Now you can just use the USB-C to USB-C cable that comes in the box for your charging cable and plug it into a Windows or a Mac PC and download the DeX application and DeX yourself away. It's sort of like having BlueStacks and more, but for free. And I was surprised we tested with the HP Spectre X360 13-inch. It actually worked pretty well, and the performance and the speed was nice. So you have your little virtual desktop. You can see what's going on screen. So you can access your photos pretty quickly. You can play media off of your phone on your PC. All that sort of stuff. Run Android apps. If that rocks you, well, then hey. There's also a lot of Microsoft integration going on here, and the Microsoft Phone app is pre-installed on the Note 10. I think they was thinking this is the more businessy oriented power user phone. So yeah, most other phones you actually have to download and install that app. But that way you can use your PC to send and receive SMS messages, get pictures off more easily, that sort of thing. Sort of competing with Apple's integration with Macs when it comes to that sort of thing. So you're thinking, well, that's great, Lisa. So what should I do? Should I buy this Note? Well, obviously, as the S family and the Note family get more and more close together in terms of specs and features, there's two things that set the Note apart still. It's the S Pen, which is very useful. It gives you granular control over things if you're doing photo editing. Obviously, if you like to take notes and draw, all that sort of thing. And then there's the screen size. These are the biggest screen sizes ever without having to carry around a bigger phone. If those are important to you, if you're a Note fan, another reason, well, then go for the Note. Let's face it, the S10 family is already very expensive. Go for it, right? Also, Samsung's prices are never quite their prices because they have crazy promotions. The pre-order pricing was the best, where you can get like a $600 trade-in for a recent generation phone, like say a Note 9 Plus get $200 in free gifts. And they're still doing a $450 trade-in program. So if you happen to own your phone and you're not making carrier monthly rental payment plans, basically, the spend might not be that bad. Plus, with the holiday season coming up before we know it, there'll probably be all sorts of deals on it. But still, it is an expensive phone. And for those of you who don't care about the S Pen, you just want a fast phone with a giant OLED screen, the OnePlus 7 Pro really is still a very solid alternative. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.